On the last piece of this. So we can answer this big question. Now I've uploaded this to the content in our Blackboard page so you can see this particular problem, but here's the story. About 10 years, 15 years ago, trying to buy a car, and this is a $10,000 car, and the finance manager comes with this idea. I happen to have $10,000 that I could pay cash for the car, but he's like, no, 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 no. He says, I should forget that. He says, I should borrow $10,000 because I would make a profit in this transaction, he says. Okay. In particular, if I borrow $10,000 at 9% interest compounded monthly, so this is a terrible interest rate, but hey, times were tough back then, and put my $10,000 in a savings bank account that says 6% compounded monthly, he maintained that I would make a profit of over $300 on the transaction after 2 years. He said he proved it and everything. He said I'd make some 377 on the transaction and looked good on his screen. Well, we need to investigate that. At least you should have a healthy skepticism about. So you take a loan instead of paying cash for a car and you make money, and the interest rate I'm earning on my money market fund is less than the interest I pay on the car loan. That should leave you skeptical. So let's go deal with this. This is an old problem, so it's got an old balance. So what we're going to do is change up our spreadsheet and put it to work because we've built it. Now we need to play with it, and I'll let you play with yours a little later too. I'm going to change my numbers to 10,000 for both the bank and the loan. So if you notice, I'm taking those numbers and messing with them over here. I'm going to make things a little bigger too. I noticed the last video was a little tiny, and I just wanted to be able to see the other pages, but I think we just need to see this stuff. Okay, you can see everything in there. Now, it said in here, the big things were the bank rate was, for me, earning money was 6%, if I remember correctly. So, and then our loan rate would have been 9%. This is the old days. This is, of course, not the deal today, unless if you have poor credit, though, then they charge you higher interest rates because they want to make sure they get their money back on it. So, it depends on your current credit rating and how things are going. So, that's another topic for another day. I'm going to change the payment amounts to being, I think, 0. I think in the problem it said something about 300, but I'm going to put zeros in there for now just to zero everything out. Well, this is a working spreadsheet for 24 months, so we should be able to just change up the numbers and then talk about the whole thing. Let's go back and double check everything's right. He claims 9% in my loan. Got it. Took care of that. 6% in my bank. And it says, great, that I would, not only did he prove this, he said put appropriate numbers in computer sitting his desk. I'm supposed to make $307. Okay, so I think we've got almost everything in there. The deal is to pay it off in a 24-month loan. So it's going to be pretty healthy payments to get that to happen. And if you look down here, loan balance that I have tells me where I'm at in my loan balance by just letting it. Right now, if I just let it sit, $10,000, 2 years later I owe $11,000, almost $12,000. So that's without any payments. Now, if I in turn go around and pay enough to bring that payment to 0, I want that loan balance to be 0 after 24 months. I'm going to hit 300, hit enter, it gets me down to $4,000. Okay, so that's getting there. We want to keep going. Let's make it $400 a month. Down to $1,400. Remember, this is 24 months. If you are to buy a car in this day and age, you can usually get up to 60 months or 5 years to pay it off, and that breaks your payment down at least in half, and if not more, depending on, and the interest rates are lower. So, we're at the higher end of payment amounts, though. $400 and $500 a month isn't uncommon now that cars cost $50,000, which blows my mind. Okay, so here you go. I'm going to put 500 a month, see what happens. Ooh, okay, parentheses popped up in my balance. In Excel language, that means a negative number. So that means, paid too much. So maybe 475, something like that. Oh, still a little bit. We're getting really close. I'm at negative 470. I think just a little bit less. Let's go 470. Bang, oops, still a little bit too much. We go 465 per month, still too much, 450. And you see this is just kind of a guessing game. 455. I'm just playing until I get a payment. Now this is not mathematical. There's a nice mathematical way to get the exact payment you need. We could certainly do that. But right now I'm doing just playing around a little bit. Let's go for, oh boy, I want to go 456, just see what happens. Oh, we're so close, 457. I get as close as I can. Oh, it just went under. So if I do 456.50, what do you think? Oh, that's got to be good. And then if I went 460, Not quite there, so 55. 456, 60. There we go, and you just keep going and going until you get it down to 0. And I hope you get the idea. This isn't meant to be like rocket science. And I think you get to a certain realm, we got to call it good. Let's go 68. Oh, man. Is it nuts or what? Should we go 70? Bingo. $3. We're going to call that good. 456.75. That's a good number. 456.75. That's going to be our payment. Okay, that essentially got us down to a loan balance of 0. 255. I have that in my pocket. I'll just pay the rest of it when I get to the bank. Okay, for my lunch money. That's the deal. I figured it out. Now, what's this savings business that they talk about? Now, if I go back to what the guy's saying, here's what I've done. My loan, remember, is in that far right column. I've paid a total of $964.57 in interest in 2 years. So to take that loan at 9%, and I did monthly payments, and the loan percentage was applied monthly, total extra money I paid $900 to take that loan. So it cost me $964 to take that loan. That's extra money I pay. So keep that in mind, because if I paid cash, I wouldn't have to pay $964.57. Not at all. Now let's go to the loan piece that what he's saying is if I put that same, he says, maintain that with a profit of $300 in the transaction. So what's the deal? How can I make money if I put my $10,000 in the bank and let it sit in there? He says, I'd make some money. And so if you look at what he's got here, is he saying that the interest I earn on my $10,000 is a total of $1,300, and the interest I pay on my loan is $964? You know what I think he's saying? I think he's subtracting these two numbers right here. That's ridiculous. And so if I take this little deal here, and I think actually, let's see, we'll figure out here in a minute if there's a little bit of a glitch. If I subtract those two, so the difference, the interest difference between those two, I'm going to make a formula. I'm going to say equal, and I'm going to click on the top one here in F29 and subtract what I have over here in H29, 363. Now this is a little bit different because I've made my payments slightly different, but that's the difference he was talking about. He says I make $363. Well, not quite. Remember, the cost to me is not that the interest is different. I have more interest earned than interest paid on that particular loan. But remember, I could essentially add to my interest earned over here if I'd have paid cash. You know, this is $964 that I had to pay out, and I didn't get to earn any interest at all on top of that. And so you want to reconcile that a little bit, ponder deeply. Did I really make $363? No, not at all. So the thing that's going to have to help you maybe explain it is to mess around with this a little bit. If I take the loan, think about this, then I don't have any money. I'm sorry, I keep my cash, okay, and I let it grow in there. Okay, so that looks good. What if I paid cash for the car? Let's turn the tables on this. By the way, this is all set up nice and ready to go. What we just did kind of sets up the question. But if I pay cash for the car, then I have no money in my bank. And so here's what I'm going to do. Put $0 in my bank. Remember, $465.75 is our payment, or $456.75. I'm going to leave that in there. But if I zero out my bank amount and hit enter, that means my bank has no money in it because I paid cash for the car, which means we can ignore this loan column because I own a car. Now, remember, I was able to carve out $456 a month to pay for that car loan when I took a loan. Well, I don't have a car loan. What I can do with that $456.75 is I can pay myself $456.75. And if I do that as my bank payment, even though I start with $0, watch this. Oh, wait a second. That means I will have earned I put away that same money, and the interest I earn is $712.13. So think of it this way. I own a car, I make all those payments, and now I have $11,616 in my bank. That sounds a little bit different than before. So here, this is what this is. That $11,616 is I got a car. I own it. I have owned it for 2 years. There is my bank statement after 2 years. Okay, no loan has been taken. Now, if I change this and do back to where it was in the beginning, and I take a big loan, and I keep my, I take a loan and I keep my money in the bank. So I'm going to put 10,000 bucks in here. Oop, I can do this. Okay, put it back in there. And I just let my 10,000 sit. I will have $11,271, and I will own a car. Okay. Do you remember the last one? $11,600, and I own a car. Now my bank with a loan is only $11,271 with a car. So altogether, if you think about it, I think I just lost 400 bucks on the deal the other way around because my bank statements are different. So I'll walk you through that one more time because I think it's a little bit confusing. So here's the scenario right now. I kept my money in the bank. I took a loan out for the car as prescribed. I paid it off in 24 months with a payment of $456.75 a month. I, after 2 years, own the car, and my bank statement is $11,271 to my name, okay, that I get to keep. Now, if I pay for the car in cash, my bank account is empty, but I can still afford to pay myself $456.75. So I hit enter, and just paying myself $456.75 a month and letting it grow in my bank account, now I have $11,616 and a car, and almost $400 more and a car to my name. So that's the real benefit. It's a better deal to buy cash for that car and not pay that loan. Interesting, huh? All right, so now that you've played with that a little bit, that was just a foray into how this all works. If you take a look at this particular bank manager, what his plot was, the interests were different and was trying to compare how much interest was earned. But there's more to that. Now, if I didn't pay myself $456.75 a month that I was paying into that car payment, he's probably right. I probably would have lost money. I mean, it would have been a better deal for me to keep my money in the bank. If I'm a person who isn't disciplined with savings, and I would just have taken that extra $456 a month that I can afford, and I just spent it on other stuff. He's right. Wouldn't have worked out. But if I'm disciplined and I take that same car payment and convert it into a savings payment, then ultimately I have $400 more and it's sitting in my bank account and life is good. So an interesting lesson in that. Now, if you go back to your lab sheets, now there's a couple things I send out to you guys, and I'm pretty much done. You guys have these questions. Now you can answer your own question. I want you to try it again with a $20,000 loan on some newer numbers. So do the same thing I just did with that Mazda problem and try and figure out what you could do with a $20,000 car and modern prices and modern interest rates and see if there's anything you can say about that. Go ahead and shell out as much description as you can. And then there's these other questions that go with it. So you can tweak that same spreadsheet over and over. Now to make it go out to 20 years and 2 years and things like that, 4 times a year for weekly and things like, it's going to get longer. You can take this spreadsheet and make it as big as you want. I'm only going to 24 years, or I'm sorry, 24 months, 2 years. You can take that lower column there and just drag all of those out, and you can make this thing go out as far as you want. So if you grab the lowest row, I'm sorry, I think I said column, you can keep going out further and further and further and further. Notice I'm going by monthly, so I'm out to 7 years now. The way that calculates, you can change the numbers over here. You can, my current loan balance is probably looking at, you always want your loan balance, you might want to go to the bottom of the spreadsheet and redo it as G87, since that would be the bottom of your spreadsheet at that point. So this is a very dynamic sheet. It'll answer your questions. Banks on the left, loan on the right. Have fun, periods per year all these can be adjusted once your spreadsheet is built. Enjoy and send me your questions.